All right, and we are back for another edition of Communities Grow Together, brought to you by David Hilst, American Family Insurance Agency. Hey, anything you need insurance-wise, commercial or individual, give David and his team a shout or stop by over on West Wabash. In today, familiar face. You saw him not too awful long ago, maybe just a couple of months ago, maybe not even that. But David Timm running for Sangamon County Sheriff. That's coming up awful close. Stop back in to say hey. So, David, how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, thanks for coming back. Looking forward to another great conversation on what your plans are if you're elected sheriff and all that good stuff.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right. So what's been going on since last time we talked? I know you've been out at a lot of different events. You've been meeting with a lot of groups. Just kind of give us the update on what's been going on.
Yeah, I've been blessed with the following that I have from everybody in the community. Every day, every week, I am somewhere doing something. All the places that are in our community, but not just in the city of Springfield, out in the county as well. Been invited to be on some panels here recently, some men's groups, just all demographics, because that's what I have to be as a sheriff, is taking care of everyone.
Yeah. So, I mean, right before this, we were talking about the CAP 1908. You were doing some stuff down there. What was that about?
Yeah, so the Purple Coalition invited me to be on their panel 5 with city leaders. And we had, I think, 30 or 40 people in the audience that day, hit some tough questions. But that's what you have to be prepared for when you're running for any political spot, especially the sheriff of Sangamon County, and with what took place in our community a year and a half ago.
Yeah. Remind everybody what your priorities are should you become sheriff.
For me, that the leadership is key. Is when you have a good leader, you have people that are happy to come to work. They're not going to abuse time. They're probably less likely to do something bad because they don't want to disappoint their leader. Knowing all of the people at the sheriff's office, getting to know who they are, what they're about, how they were raised, because that's a part of my story to get where I am today. Engaging with the community, I think we're lacking that right now in law enforcement, is to be able to get out and not just for catastrophes, but be involved for the good. And then also trying to change the recidivism in the jail. I think that's a big deal that we're lacking as all leaders. But when you run a jail, which is what you do from the sheriff's office standpoint as being the sheriff, is be an educator. I want to really get into the jail, sit down with them, not in a uniform, in plain clothes, sit down with 20 or 30 inmates, tell them my story, and let them know that they too have a chance, but it's on them. They have to put in the work. I'll help, but put in the work. And if I also do that with some of the leaders in town, bring them in where we can have these round tables. If we save one of them from committing a crime again and becoming a taxpayer instead of a criminal as they're labeled, we have to do that. And I think another point to that is we have to look at them as humans still. Even though they've committed crimes, they do have a chance in life, and we can raise them up.
No doubt about it. Has there ever been anything like that where you bring in kind of a coalition or the sheriff goes in and talk? I mean,
I haven't. I haven't seen anything like that. Definitely not in our jail. I know that they bring a pastor in, on Sundays, but that falls into it as well. If we can get a pastor to get somebody that attends every week, that's an inmate, and get them transferred over and let them start preaching to the inmates and start bringing faith in for them, I think that's a big deal. And for me on my end, take the stigma of law enforcement out with that uniform and have a leader that is willing to sit down with them and try to make a difference in their life. And instead of having that little Charlie Brown teacher that they hear all the time, it's somebody outside that box and looking at me and go, wait a second. This guy really cares and wants to make a difference. That falls back into, like I said, with the deputies. When you have a good leader, they may not make the same mistakes again because they don't want to disappoint you, and you can do the same thing in the community.
Right. Yeah, I think that could be pretty powerful. You going in there not as Sheriff Timm, but as, hey, I'm going in as David Timm and I'm having a conversation here. I think that could be really powerful.
I think so as well.
Yeah. So you're talking about the community engagement. What are some other things that you could do to be more engaged in the community?
I was invited through the 1908 through a men's group that they're starting and doing once a month. And the guy kind of caught me on the way out of the Purple Coalition meeting and said, hey, I know you're busy, but if you'd like to attend, the first one's February 13th, night before Valentine's Day. I don't expect you to be there. And so they were shocked when I walked in. And we had 5 people that showed up that night, plus myself. And we got into some really powerful discussions. And what they loved about me is that I didn't deflect any questions that they asked. And I engaged with them. And I said things that most probably wouldn't say, but they love that because I gave it right back to them. I gave them some facts that they didn't know. They gave me some facts that I didn't know. And so together we found common ground. And that's what I've been about in all of this, is that we're not all going to agree on everything, but we can find common ground on so much. And so at the end of the night, getting the handshakes and the hugs from these guys that had a negative feeling towards law enforcement.
Sure.
And I understand why. But the openness and willingness for me to have these conversations and engage in them and butting heads a little bit at the same time, we worked it all out and we became friends that night. And I'm going to go back every month.
Yeah, and I think that's huge because a lot of times people get frustrated when in any political realm, no matter what position they're going for, the deflecting of questions and not actually answering or not actually being direct with what they're saying. I think people get so frustrated with that. So, and it's a breath of fresh air when somebody says, "No, this is what it is. This is what I'm planning on doing." Whether you know,
And that's funny that you say it because that's their exact words that night was they
Sure.
said, you know, we were there 3.5 hours, I think. And about an hour and a half in of some good engagement, the moderator stopped and he said, you know, Tim, that's what we like about you. And I said, what's that? And he goes, if we asked one of these questions to anybody else, leaders, politicians, they would deflect and never come back again. You keep coming back for more. And so I looked at him, I said, simply for me, I have to learn your perspective to be better in my job. And then that also trickles down to the employees, whether it's the deputies, court security, or corrections. That trickles down from me to them to wait, let me give you another perspective because I'm having these meetings and engaging with them. But we can bring them into our briefings as well. Instead of just having a normal briefing talking about law enforcement stuff, bring some of these leaders in to sit down with us in briefing and start engaging. And then you start building this bond with each other. And again, instead of them just looking at law enforcement when they see that uniform, now they're looking at a person instead. And I think that's how we fix it, one person at a time.
No doubt about it. And I think it creates clarity too. So, because when you're in communication, whether you agree or disagree,
Yes.
when you're clear on what you want and I'm clear on what I want, we can come to some kind of agreement or middle ground there.
Yeah.
But if everybody's always deflecting and always just trying to say what people want to hear and not actually believing what they're saying,
That's right.
that's where, issues start happening because nothing ever gets done.
That's
or
right.
you say one thing and that never happened.
Right.
Right. But when
That's right.
when you're clear and direct and answer the questions, that's where things can really start to happen.
And it's
start
not
moving forward.
overnight.
Yeah.
I know that going in, hopefully to be the next sheriff of Sangamon County, that there's some things that I can fix day one. But I'm also under the understanding that some are going to take a few years. But regardless, as long as we're moving forward, not just in the department, but in the community, and we're making and gaining ground each and every day in some way, shape, or form, we can make a difference. And I think some people just don't think that they can anymore. They've given up on certain parts of society or certain areas of our community. You can't ever give up. Work with them to become better as your own human being, let alone as an elected official.
No doubt about it. Well, I'd be remiss not to ask. I like to say no negativity allowed on here, but there's been a lot of negativity out in the media towards you here recently. So what would you like to say about that?
The big thing for me is I'll thank them. Thank you for elevating me. Thank you for elevating my followers. Thank you for giving me more followers because many know that this stuff is not true.
Mm-hmm.
I've addressed it on my social media. I'm not afraid to talk about it. I've talked about it from day one. I think the big thing for people to understand is that if they didn't think when I chose to jump in to run for sheriff of Sangamon County that I didn't know things would come up,
Sure.
wrong. I knew that. That's why I came out day one. But to portray it the way that it's been portrayed is not accurate and it's unfair. But for me, I've taken the high ground. Anybody that follows me on social media, look at my responses. I will not go negative. I have been begged by many people to go negative, especially people that have been around politics for a long time.
Feel like that's
it's not
what you have to do. But yeah,
right, you don't, because for me, I sit and I think I'm trying to be the highest ranking law enforcement official in Sangamon County. The way I present myself now is the way I have to present myself when I become the next sheriff of Sangamon County. And that's a positive for me right now. And it doesn't look so good for others right now. I will continue on this path. And I think that it also is a learning lesson for many that have been engaged in politics in this way for a long time. And at the same time, it's drawn people into politics that have never been in it before. The phone calls I receive, the text messages, the Facebook messages from people saying, I was this way or this way, before. But as soon as that negativity came out, 100% have my vote and my kids' votes and everybody else.
Love it.
So
Love it. No, we talk a lot in the 10X world with our strategies and mindset that we talk about there. If you don't have some haters and you don't have some people throwing negativity out, you're probably not doing enough.
That's right.
You're not out there enough. So I kind of relate that to some of the marketing and things that we do. There's always going to be people that are going to be slinging mud, but if you're out there enough and doing great things and making an impact, all the people that see that are going to just overflow all the negativity with the positivity that you're doing. So
when you can go 25 and a half years in law enforcement, and that's what I was a deputy from 1999 to January of 2025. And, one of the negative things they're bringing up is that I was fired. No, I was wrongfully terminated in 2008. And I was reinstated ultimately for a reason. And then I spent 16 more years at the sheriff's office. That tells you something.
Right.
I had a great career there, and to go 25 and a half years and never have a substantiated civilian complaint, that's a pretty big deal. I impacted a lot of lives for the positive in this community, and it's showing right now with the following I have.
Talking about that following, all the events that I see on social all seem to be very well attended that you have. So what would you like to say to some of your supporters out there that have been showing up to all this stuff, man?
I can't thank them enough. Yes, there are some repeat ones at every single event, but every single event, there's so many more new ones. And it's not just the events, and I wish I could record my life every single day, regardless of where I go. I'm walking around Sam's Club, Meijer grocery store, you name it, in Springfield or in the county. I have people coming up to me, some of them running up to me, and they absolutely love what I'm doing. They know that I'm for the people and I'm not for the politics. They love the message that I'm portraying and how it's impacting their lives as well. They know that I'm doing it for the good of this community, and that's it, because this is not about power and money for me. And so they've labeled me, some of them, as a celebrity when they see me. I'm not.
Right.
I'm just a normal guy like them, you, and everybody else on a platform that I can make a difference.
But the celebrity side of it, you may not feel it, but when other people feel that, it shows that you're making an impact. Whether you feel like that you are that or not, it's when other people feel that way about you, it's because you're making an impact.
You're right. I was at an event the other day real quick, and a guy came up to me and he had the biggest smile on it. He's my age. And he said, my daughter and I are huge followers of yours, and she's in the military. She's not in our area. She's away on the military. And he said, can I take a selfie with you and send it to her? And so I started laughing. I'm like, okay,
sure.
Because everywhere I go, people want pictures now. And in turn, he leaves with a big smile. 5 minutes later, he comes back and he's holding his phone out in front of him. I said, you're on FaceTime, aren't you? And he goes, I am. My daughter's on the phone. And so it was loud where I was at, but I sat there and had conversation, and she was giddy. And it just made me feel so incredible that even she's from here. She has a dream of being in law enforcement, but she was so happy that I took the time at this event that I was at that had 2,000 people at it to have this conversation in regards to it. And that's the kind of things that you can do as the sheriff. It's not just running a department. It's not just the safety and security of the community. It's taking advantage on the grandest stage possible here to impact people's lives for the positive.
No doubt about it. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about some of the events that you've had here recently.
So I am bouncing everywhere with everything that comes up. I've been to chili cook-offs just to attend. Next thing you know, hey, you want to judge?
Sure,
I'm judging, which worked out good because I like food. I've been eating a lot of food. I've been all over to different bars and different restaurants in the community.
Any super hot chili that you had to take down?
That day, no. Okay. Thank God, because I'm not a big spice guy.
I'm not either. That's why I asked. So I like a little bit of heat, but I'm not the guy that likes to burn the tongue off spice on my chili.
Yeah,
so
they would have got some low marks if it would have been, but that's my preference. I like one pair of shoes. They like a different kind of shoes. That's how life works. But I've a lot of good food from different places that I've been throughout. Again, well received at everything. My own events, with my fundraising, I'm bouncing around. Was at Jamie's Route 66 yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that one.
That was a huge turnout. In a couple days, I'm at WLD in Chatham. You name it, I've been pretty much everywhere. A lot of village board meetings as well. And it's good to go to those because a lot of them already had an opinion. And then to get home and have mayors or people on the board call you direct and say, I was leaning one way until I heard you speak, the passion in your voice, the plans that you have for the sheriff's office, and I've changed my perspective 100% and I'm behind you. That's what makes our community go around.
So those village board meetings, are you going in and giving a 15-minute talk? How does that work?
Yeah, basically go in and I tell my story again from the time that I was born all the way through where I'm at right now, obviously in a rapid pace in regards to it. But I want them to know if you're going to support me, yes, at 18 years old, I got in trouble and went to jail for the night. Okay. It's being portrayed heavily differently right now, but the reality is I was 18. The facts are is this: from 18 going to jail for a few hours for the night In 2 years, I was getting my associate's degree in criminal justice. In 4 years, I was getting hired at the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office with them knowing what I had been through in my life, and then spent 25 and a half years. So I give them the full story, my perspective, and, I'm somebody that really wants to help the smaller agencies when I become sheriff. When I have training, in-service training for our deputies corrections, I want to make sure that they're all invited because they don't have the funds to send them their people to get the training. So come train with us for free. It builds morale. It makes better officers. And then the same thing, working with building a relationship with the board themselves to save money. How do we save money? Well, training, obviously helping them. But the other thing is let's buy in bulk. When you guys need equipment, come through us. Let's buy it in bulk to save them money, because then they can turn around and put that towards more coverage on the street. They may not have 24-hour coverage, but if we can save them enough money working with them, then do that. The firefighting side of things, I've met with a lot of volunteer fire departments and full-time fire departments. Hey, tell me what we can do to be better on scene before you get there, or if you get there first, after we get there. Teach me and our guys to do better, to save lives faster, or even help you guys in anything that we could help on.
I love that. I mean, this whole segment is all about communities
That's
grow
it.
together. So I love the collaboration that you're talking about with all those different departments, and the smaller ones being able to save money by banding together and doing doing a bulk model. I think that'd be awesome. Why not?
It is. And that's what's sad about this is it's 2026. Why are we talking about this now? Instead of having egos going against each other,
Right.
listen, the Springfield Police Department is, I think, 259 officers. And they have obviously a bigger budget than us. They have a lot more equipment, a lot more toys. Why are we not utilizing their detective bureau to help our detective bureau to solve crimes? Same way with state police. Instead of it getting to something out of hand where we have to call people in, hey, can you help me on this? Work together better instead of bumping heads in regards to it. And that's for every agency out there. It's not just law enforcement, it's everything. Gateway Foundation.
Mhm.
Let's work with them to make a difference. 1908, let's work with them to make a difference. What can we do? Because there's organizations for everything. You know that yourself. So why can't I, as the sheriff who has, because of that position, a very loud voice, work with them to make their voices louder too, so the public knows about them? Next thing you know, they're generating more funds and they become better as well.
Yeah. No, you mentioned ego a second ago. With a lot of different organizations, a lot of time ego can get in the way. People coming together. But when we do, when everybody drops that ego and says, hey, what is best for the community? What is best for the people of Springfield and the surrounding communities? What is best for these departments? And they come together without the ego, some great things can happen.
Yeah.
No matter what.
And I think that you see that and probably others see that as well, but it's just become the norm. No, we have to make it the norm to fix it. And how do we fix it? And it's just simple conversations like this, and the ones that's why I'm everywhere meeting with everybody. I went to senior living homes, and one I had an attendance of 5 and one I had an attendance of 2, and they were husband and wife. And they were so appreciative of me being there. And I still spent 45 minutes with both groups. When I left, the smiles on their face, one, that I took the time to think that they still exist, because again, they're human as well. They're living their own life. But to come out there and give them my story, what my plans were, and it was just a pleasure. Honestly, I had some of the best times of my campaign at those 2 events, talking to a total of 7 people in 2 different places.
How important is that to just go and tell your story, just to be upfront with people? This is my story. This is who I am. This is what I'm going to do.
The importance comes every night when I lay my head down. I know myself and my family, what I've done in life. So when I continue to tell my story instead of try to hide it away, I lay my head down and I sleep easy at night. And nobody's perfect. I understand that. But I think if it wasn't for the life that I lived, I couldn't be having the articulate conversation that I'm having with you right now. I have grown drastically in my life. So if they want to hold the past against me, the bottom line is this: 25 and a half years of law enforcement. And that was for a reason. If I was such a horrible person, I never would have had that long of a career in law enforcement. I've been blessed to be able to impact, again, so many lives in this community. And God said, you're not done yet. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Remind everybody why you got into this in the first place. What was the impetus to say I'm running?
The final straw in regards to it was my last night on the job, SMTD, with multiple people that I've been dealing with 8 months there, which some call them homeless, low income, and they are, but to me, they're human beings. And in 8 months, the impact that I had on them showed the night that it was my last night. When you have homeless, some aggressive, a lot with mental illnesses coming up to you, bringing you cards that they can't afford, candy that they can't afford. They're tearing up and saying, Tim, we don't know what we're going to do without you here. I said, you're going to keep on moving on. Why do you feel that way? And they said, because there's never been a cop that has treated us like you treat us. And that's sad to hear. So that night is when I went home and told my wife. I was 95% in then. I was 100% in after that. And on that note, I had a guy reach out to me recently on Facebook with some questions. We got emails back and forth. The next thing you know, he said, would you meet me for lunch? Absolutely. You name the time and place and I'll be there. And he said, would you meet me at the bread line? Impact right off the bat.
Yeah,
I'm like, wow.
definitely.
Okay. And he said, hey, I was homeless and I ate there. Then I started working there and eating there. And then I got a job and I still go back and eat there.
Wow.
I was there 2 hours. As soon as I walked in the door, he was sitting at a table and I was surrounded with people with the biggest smiles on their face. People from SMTD bus stop.
Wow.
He couldn't get a question in because the entire 2 hours I was surrounded with people shaking my hands that were so happy to see me and calling me by name because they remembered I impacted their lives that much that months and months later, smiles, nothing but smiles. It was so rewarding that day to spend 2 hours there.
I was going to say, how did that hit you? That had to just hit you straight in the heart, man.
It was. And the staff, it was incredible. You could see him talking behind the counter. Like they realized I was somebody and then they started putting things together. And after an hour and a half of be there, because I had to deal with some mental health issues that were going on there. Yes, I'm not a law enforcement officer anymore, but it was people that I knew and I engaged with them and tried to calm the situation down. And an hour and a half into it, the manager and the staff behind there started chanting Timm for sheriff. And I tell you, out of everything I've been through in life, that will stick with me forever because like they said, no politician's going to go to the bread line and sit down and eat. And I said, that's because I'm not a politician. I want to be the sheriff of Sangamon County.
Love it. Remind everybody when the election is and how they can make their voice heard over these next few weeks.
So the big thing is the primary is March 17th. Early voting started on February 5th. So you can get out and early vote right now. But March 17th is the big day where we're going to find out if I move forward to the general election in November.
Very good. Events coming up that people could come see you at?
WLD in Chatham. And then the day after that on my social media, which is Facebook, Timm for sheriff, I'll announce where that party is on March 17th.
There you go. Any final words for the people of Sangamon County?
I have something for you today. And I saw this little thing on Facebook years ago. Sometimes the black sheep is the only one telling the truth.
There you go.
Don't forget that.
Love it. Well, David, good luck to you. Appreciate you spending some time with me today.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
All right. We're going to let David get back to elevating Springfield. But for the rest of y'all, we'll be right back.